Jasmina Dominic, a young woman from Croatia whose disappearance in the year 2000 remained a mystery until one cold day in February 2019. This is not an ordinary crime story. It's a tale of secrets, family dynamics, and chilling discoveries that stun the entire country. The revelation has horrified the community and transfixed the country, with prosecutors pointing the finger at the elder sister. Who killed Jasmina? And who found her body after almost 20 years? Let me tell you. As I said, Jasmina had not been seen since she disappeared as a 23-year-old student back in 2000. 19 years later, she was finally found inside the freezer on the ground floor of the home of her sister Smiljana Srnec in Pavlovec, a small but well-off village of neat two-story homes in northern Croatia. Jasmina was a young, ambitious student. People described her as cheerful and intelligent, often speaking of her aspirations for a better education and a brighter future. She was loved by her friends and acquaintances, frequently standing out for her optimism and desire to leave her hometown in pursuit of greater opportunities. But one day in the year 2000, Jasmina simply vanished. Years passed. No one knew what happened, or so they said. Interestingly, her disappearance was officially reported only in 2005, 5 years after she was last seen. The family claimed Jasmina had gone to France to work. Supposedly, she was planning to start a new life and find a job. But why didn't she ever send a letter? Why didn't she call? Could it be that no one suspected something was wrong? Sometimes neighbors asked questions, but the family's answer were always the same. Jasmina left, they said. She's working abroad and has no time to stay in touch. But as the years went by, those answers began to sound less and less convincing. 20 years later, the secret was uncovered in the most chilling way possible. In February 2019, in the family home of Jasmina's sister Smiljana, Jasmina's body was discovered. It had been in the freezer, which had been standing in the hallway of the house for years. Imagine that. A household freezer, an everyday object meant to store food, had become the resting place of a dark secret. The body was found by a family member accidentally after the freezer broke down. Instead of food, they found the mummified remains of a young woman. Chilling, isn't it? Picture the expression on the face of the person who opened the freezer, expecting ordinary groceries, only to uncover a frozen truth that had lain there for nearly 2 decades. According to those present, the scene was horrifying. The freezer was sealed with so many layers of ice that discovering the body looked like a scene from the most harrowing horror films. That was the moment when the family's daily routine changed forever. Soon after the discovery, the investigation's focus shifted to Smiljana Srnec, Jasmina's older sister. Smiljana was the only person living in the house at the time. Police arrested her and charged her with the murder of her own sister. The evidence was undeniable. The autopsy revealed that Jasmina had died from multiple blows to the head with a blunt object. The body had been placed in a freezer shortly after her death. Imagine the brutality of the act, as well as the cold-bloodedness required to hide the body in such a manner. Despite the evidence, Jasmina's sister Smiljana maintained her innocence. During the trial, she provided contradictory accounts, attempting to explain how the body ended up in the freezer. However, the court found her guilty and sentenced her to 15 years in prison. The verdict was clean. But one question remains. Is the sentence enough to account for the loss of a life and the suffering of a family that lived with that secret? But why? What could drive someone to commit such a crime? The motive was never fully clarified. There was talk of jealousy, financial issues, and strained family relationships. Some believed Jasmina was the favorite child, which might have sparked envy and conflict. Others speculated about debts and money as a potential trigger. Even more shocking is the silence. For 20 years, the secret remained hidden. Did anyone suspect? If they did, why didn't they speak out? How well do we truly know the people we share our homes with? This case raises questions about how missing person reports are handled. How was it possible for 5 years to pass before Jasmina Dominic's disappearance was reported? Did the family truly believe she had moved abroad? Or were some family members simply silent about what they already knew? The case of Jasmina reminds us of the importance of thorough investigations and the courage to ask questions, no matter how much time has passed. It also raises the question, how willing are we to ignore obvious signs to preserve a semblance of normalcy? As we close this chapter, let us remember Jasmina Dominic, not just as a victim of a horrifying scene, but as a young woman whose life was taken too soon. Let her story be a reminder that the truth always finds its way to the surface, no matter how deeply it's buried.